When we think about the Mafia, we're not just imagining a few tough guys wearing trench coats and whispering in dark alleys. No, we're talking about decades of power, money, and control over entire cities. These Mafia bosses weren't just criminals, they were icons who left their mark on the underworld for generations. From Sam Giancana's rise and fall to Lucky Luciano's transformation of the Mafia, Joe Colombo's surprising activism, and John Gotti's reign over the Gambino family, these men changed the game forever. Let's take a deeper look at these legendary figures and see how their decisions rocked the criminal world. Sam Giancana, the violent genius. Sam Giancana wasn't your typical mobster. He didn't just rely on muscle. He was a brilliant strategist who worked his way up in the Chicago outfit to lead one of the most powerful crime syndicates in the country. Giancana was all about making money, and he made a lot of it. Whether it was running casinos, controlling gambling rings, or dominating the city's unions, Giancana had a hand in it all. But his genius didn't stop at the streets. He understood the power of connections. One of his most infamous partnerships was with the Kennedy family. In the 1960 presidential election, Giancana helped John F. Kennedy win by delivering votes in crucial states. What Giancana didn't expect was the retaliation from Robert Kennedy, the U.S. Attorney General, who launched a major crackdown on organized crime. The FBI began to close in, and betrayal from his own crew put even more pressure on him. Eventually, Giancana's empire crumbled, and he was murdered by the mob for becoming too much of a liability. It's the classic Mafia story, rise to power, only to fall violently. Lucky Luciano, the architect of the Mafia empire. Before Luciano, the Mafia was like a bunch of separate squabbling families, each one fighting for control and influence. There was no unity, no structure, just chaos. But Luciano wasn't just interested in being a boss. He had a grand vision. He didn't just want to run a family, he wanted to build an empire, and that's exactly what he did. The visionary who changed everything. Imagine trying to control a business where everyone is fighting over the same slice of the pie. That was the Mafia before Luciano stepped in. Every family in New York was vying for power, and this constant infighting weakened them all. But Luciano wasn't having any of it. He saw an opportunity for something bigger, something that could last. In 1931, Luciano created the Commission, a governing body that brought together the heads of New York's 5 biggest crime families. This was a genius move. The Commission wasn't just a way to keep things in order. It was the backbone of Luciano's plan to unify the Mafia. Instead of constant wars between families, now they had a neutral body that could mediate disputes, settle turf wars, and make sure everyone played by the same rules. For the first time, there was actual structure within the Mafia. It was like turning a chaotic, disorganized gang into a legitimate business with a clear hierarchy and purpose, expanding the empire. But Luciano didn't stop there. He knew that to make real money, the Mafia had to branch out. So he helped expand the Mafia's reach into new industries like gambling, narcotics, and labor unions. Each one became a vital part of the Mafia's growing empire. Under Luciano's leadership, the Mafia wasn't just about extortion and petty crime. It was a multi-billion-dollar operation. His ability to diversify and adapt made the Mafia a global powerhouse. Gambling, for example, became a major source of income. Luciano's connections in the world of gambling and casinos allowed the Mafia to take a significant share of the profits, not just in the US, but internationally. He wasn't just running illegal games on street corners, he was operating on a global scale. And then there was narcotics. Luciano's involvement in the drug trade was a turning point for the Mafia. Narcotics, while immensely profitable, brought a whole new set of problems, including law enforcement crackdowns and rival groups trying to muscle in on the action. But Luciano didn't back down. He saw it as a necessary risk to expand his empire. That decision would come with consequences, but it also helped solidify the Mafia's hold on power during that era. Joe Colombo, activism in the shadows. As the head of the Colombo crime family, he decided to do the opposite. He stepped into the spotlight and became an activist. Talk about a bold move. In the late 1960s, Colombo founded the Italian-American Civil Rights League, a group dedicated to fighting back against the negative stereotypes of Italians and Italian Americans, particularly in the media. Now, that may sound like a noble cause, right? The problem was that Colombo didn't just want to make noise, he wanted to make big noise. He didn't just want to talk about the injustice he saw, he wanted to be the face of the movement. And that meant he was suddenly front and center, drawing all kinds of attention. While Colombo might have had good intentions when it came to civil rights, his efforts came with a huge cost. By stepping into the limelight, he unintentionally put himself and his family at the center of the FBI's attention. Let's face it, law enforcement wasn't exactly on Colombo's side, and now he had given them a reason to focus even more on him and his operations. You see, the Mafia thrives in the shadows, quietly pulling the strings behind closed doors. But Colombo, by turning the Mafia into a public issue, gave the FBI a bigger target to hit. His activism, instead of helping the image of Italian Americans, only increased the scrutiny on him and his criminal activities. The media and law enforcement already had a long history of linking Italians with organized crime, and Colombo's decision to publicly challenge these stereotypes just made the situation worse. It was almost like waving a giant red flag in front of a bull. The more attention Colombo tried to draw to the cause, the more heat it brought onto his family's illegal dealings. His efforts to protect the reputation of Italian Americans only ended up shining a brighter spotlight on the Mafia, which made things even harder for him and his family. Internal struggles and a failed assassination. But the problems didn't stop with the FBI. Inside the Colombo crime family, things were far from peaceful. Rivalries and power struggles within the family were starting to boil over. Some members didn't appreciate Colombo's newfound public persona and the way he was running things, which led to internal tensions. And in the world of the Mafia, when the tensions get too high, someone's always willing to make a move. In 1971, those tensions erupted into violence when an assassination attempt was made on Colombo's life. The hitman shot him in broad daylight, leaving him critically injured and in a vegetative state. Colombo survived the attack, but his days as the head of the family were over. The incident crippled his ability to lead, and as a result, his family began to weaken. That failed hit wasn't just a turning point for Colombo, it was the beginning of the end for the Colombo family's dominance in the Mafia world. With their boss unable to lead, internal chaos took over, and rival factions within the family began to fight for control. The Colombo family, which had once been one of the most powerful in the Mafia, started to lose its grip, and the family's reputation never quite recovered. The lasting impact of Joe Colombo's legacy. Joe Colombo's story is a reminder of the complexities of the Mafia world. He tried to take a different path, one of activism and public engagement, but in the end, the Mafia's secrets and internal politics couldn't stay hidden for long. His attempt to fight stereotypes and give Italian Americans a better image was admirable, and as his story unfolded, it became clear that even the best-laid plans could unravel when you're dealing with the underworld. Colombo's attempt at balancing activism with Mafia life didn't just expose his family's criminal activities, it marked the beginning of the end for his leadership. The failed assassination and his resulting condition fractured the Colombo crime family, and they never truly regained the power they once had. In the end, Joe Colombo's life was a fascinating blend of ambition, activism, and the stark realities of organized crime. He was a man who tried to rewrite the narrative, but found that sometimes the shadows are harder to escape than you think. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, press the subscribe button, and also drop your thoughts in the comment section.